for Tuesday, May 17th, 2020. Would everyone please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wonderful, thank you. Sylvia, roll call.
Mayor Mays.
Here.
Council President Rosner.
Here.
Councilor Garland.
Here.
Councilor Browse.
Here.
Councilor Young.
Here.
Councilor Scott.
Here.
Councilor Giles.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. We have approval of the agenda.
I make a motion for the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Kim and Doug. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. Consent agenda, we have 4 items on the agenda this evening. Item A is approval of May 3rd, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Item B is Resolution 2022-024, authorizing the city manager to purchase vehicles and equipment for Sherwood broadband. Item C is Resolution 2022-025, authorizing the city manager to acquire real property. Item D is Resolution 2022-026, declaring the need to acquire real property interest to construct and thereafter operate and maintain infrastructure related to the Southwest Oregon Street Improvement Project.
I move consent.
Second.
Thank you, Renee and Doug. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of approving the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, council. Citizen comments. Now time to address city council on items not on public hearing portion of the agenda. Dave Sweeney, welcome. Please just state your name and address for the record, and welcome.
Dave Sweeney, 24011 Southwest Redfern. And I know I submitted this comment to Sylvia, but I'd like to read it in the record anyway.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members, my citizen comment this evening is a simple one. Come and visit. Come and visit the trees at the south end of Redfern Drive. Don't make any decision on these trees until you've actually seen them in person. Don't make this decision in a vacuum by looking at a few maps and charts. Come and visit. Come and visit the woodlands where kids have been playing for the last 25 years, playing for a generation, building forts, riding bikes, engaging their creativity and imaginations, and escaping into the wonder of an old-growth forest. Please don't allow that forest to be cut down. Don't let anyone steal the joy from those kids in the neighborhood or future generations of Sherwood kids and adults that could enjoy that forest for years and years and years to come. Come and visit. Take a short walk down our Arbor Lane Trail and see how beautifully it winds through the trees and the forest behind our houses, and how nicely that trail would integrate into a trail through the flagpole section all the way to Brookman Road. Come and visit, and let the beauty of these majestic old-growth trees, most of which have been growing for well over 100 years, and the simple elegance of this beautiful natural area touch your heart. And then imagine the scar, the 700-foot scar through the land if you allow those trees, those 115 trees, to be cut down. The scar will include a 350-foot long, 12-foot wide strip of asphalt right up against the backyards of the houses on Shady Grove. That's the private driveway to the houses. The 2 houses that will replace all those old-growth trees. The 2 houses that will result in the destruction of a natural area kids and adults have enjoyed for a generation. The 2 houses that won't preserve a natural area, but destroy one. Won't protect a wildlife habitat, but destroy one. Won't provide a place for people to connect with nature, but destroy one. So much will be destroyed if these trees are allowed to be cut down. Please don't let this happen. Find a way. Find a way to protect those trees. You've got options. You've got the tree ordinance. You've got the 5% park district requirement for open space from developments, usable open space, active open space. But please come and visit and see with your own eyes what we're all trying to save. Thank you, Renee, for coming. Thank you, Taylor, for coming, for driving down. And if you don't have to talk to me. I mean, I live there, Neil lives there. You can just drive down Redfern, park your car at the end of Redfern Road and look up and look in and walk down the trail. So, thank you.
Th- Thanks, Dave.
Yes.
Anyone else in attendance want to give citizen comment? Seeing none, anyone dialing in like to give citizen comment?
Doesn't appear that way.
Just double checking. All right, so we will move on to the next agenda item, which is our 2 public hearings. Sylvia?
The City Council will hold public hearing this evening to receive testimony on ordinance 2022-004, amending sections of the Sherwood Zoning and Community Development Code for new housing choices to comply with House Bill 2001. This is the 3rd hearing on this item. And ordinance 2022-005, amending sections of the Transportation System Plan for housing choices. This is the 1st hearing on that ordinance. The public hearings this evening will be conducted as follows. Staff will present a staff report, questions, if any, by the City Council for staff. We will then receive written testimony. We will then open the public hearing for testimony, and the time will be limited to 4 minutes per person. Any interested person may present testimony. We will then close the public hearing. No other comments will be heard from the public. Final comments by staff, questions of staff, if any, by the council, followed by council discussion. For ordinance 2004, again, this is the 3rd hearing before the City Council on this item. A decision may be made by the council at the close of this hearing, or the matter may be continued to a time and date certain. If the matter is continued to a date certain, this is the only notice of that date you will receive. For ordinance 005, this is the 1st hearing before the City Council on this item. Generally, the council will hold 2 hearings prior to making a decision. A 2nd hearing on this item is currently scheduled for June the 7th. However, in accordance with the city charter, the council reserves the right to make a decision at the close of this hearing by a unanimous vote of all sitting council members. If you wish to speak on either of these ordinances, please fill out a request to speak form and to submit it to the city recorder prior to the time the public hearing is open for testimony. The mayor will recognize people who wish to speak, and any comments must be addressed through the mayor. When you come forward, please state your name and place of residence for the record, as this hearing will be recorded.
Thank you, Sylvia. All right, as soon as we get logged on to that computer. Awesome. Welcome, Joy. So this is the 3rd time we've had ordinance 2022-004. It was, the 2nd hearing was continued to tonight. We had a work session discussion on the proposed ordinance, kind of in response to some of my questions I had submitted, and I think Council President Rosner. And at the work session, we talked about continuing this again, so that we can incorporate some direction, some more tweaks. Do I get that about right?
Yes, you pretty much had my spiel here. So that is correct. I do also want to point out that we did receive 1 written public testimony, and Sylvia did email that out to all of you. It was from a combined letter from Thousand Friends of Oregon, Fair Housing Council of Oregon, and Housing Land Advocates. Yeah. Together, they are in support of the proposed amendments that implements House Bill 2001, but requested a few amendments to improve the prospects of increasing access to more affordable housing types by either creating detached homes in plex developments, eliminating parking requirements, allowing for density bonus, and also they also requested deferring adoption of the amendments until full Goal 10 findings can be made. To address those questions, staff, as far as staff to the Goal 10 findings, Sherwood Housing Needs Analysis is due for an update in 2026. At that time, it may reflect an added percentage for middle housing capacity, as they suggested. Staff believes that goal 10 findings are sufficient. Staff recommends council hold the third public hearing tonight, take the public testimony that may be offered this evening, and then continue the hearing to June 7th to allow time to incorporate modification to the proposed amendments.
Awesome. Thanks, Joy. So before we do anything up here, we'll see if anyone in the audience would like to give public testimony on the proposed ordinance. Seeing none, is there anyone remotely connecting that would like to give testimony on the proposed ordinance? And there is not, so we'll close the public hearing for tonight on ordinance 2022-004. Council, any questions or discussion from Joy other than continuing? Is there a motion to continue this ordinance to the date certain of June 7th? Someone make that motion?
I move that we continue ordinance 2022-004, amending sections of the Sherwood Zoning and Community Development Code for new housing choices to comply with Oregon HB 2001 to June 7th.
Perfect. Moved and seconded. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to continue this ordinance to June 7th, please say aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you, Doug and Sean and everyone else. Opposed? No one's opposed. The motion carries. We will continue this to June 7th. Thank you, Joy. Second ordinance. First reading. Joy?
Great. Good evening. All right. In front of you tonight is the transportation system plan, as reflected here. The transportation system plan went through its last major update in 2014 through the implementation of House Bill 2019, or 2019 House Bill 2001 Middle Housing. We identified that a cross-section detail, specifically for public alleys, was missing from that adopted 2014 TSP. City Council, Planning Commission, and the Sherwood community definitely has identified that safety and on-street parking are valued benefits to the Sherwood community. And so staff is proposing amendments to the TSP that includes a new public alley cross-section detail and also a revised standards for residential roadways. The next several slides will provide the details to these amendments. So this slide shows the proposed new public alley section. The public alley have been allowed in Sherwood Development Code for a long time. It was recently identified that the cross-section detail for the public alley was missing from the TSP. This proposal would add the new cross-section to the TSP. The public alley cross-section detail will show a 21-foot right-of-way with a mountable curve, 16-foot pedestrian level light pole, a 5-foot public utility easement, and on-street parking would not be allowed. Staff from Pride Disposal has informed the planning staff that the proposed 16-foot light pole would meet the needs of Pride Disposal, and their utility trucks would be able to clear the proposed 16-foot light pole. It has also been noted that on-street parking will not be permitted on either side of the alley for accessibility. During council work session on March 1st, council identified that the pedestrian level light pole should be the typical street standard and request Planning Commission to consider the council's proposal. Instead, the initial proposed 12-foot high light pole, it should be a standard 22-foot high light pole. This slide shows the revised proposed pedestrian level light pole of 16 foot, which is reflected on the bottom of this slide. The top image shows the typical light standard of a 22-foot high light pole.
20 foot.
20. Oh, my apologies. Yes, correct. Thank you. 20-foot light pole. My notes are incorrect. So this slide shows the proposed public cross-section analysis on light intrusion to neighboring properties, second-story windows along with the decorative Westbrook light fixture. As you can see, a 20-foot light pole, which is the typical street standard, has a light intrusion of 17.7 feet, and second-story windows will be impacted. A 16-foot high light pole, as recommended by Planning Commission, the light intrusion is 13.7 feet, and the second-story window will not be impacted. So the city engineer has informed staff that pedestrian-level light poles does not limit good light for vehicle travel. It does limit light intrusions to adjacent second-floor residents. Pedestrian scale lights do require a few more light poles due to lighting standards. But again, the Planning Commission is recommending the 16-foot high light pole for public alleys. And these are just local examples of pedestrian scale lights for your reference. City Council, Planning Commission, and the City of Sherwood community has identified that safety and on-street parking are valued benefits to the Sherwood community. The existing 28-foot residential standard cross-section only allows for parking on one side of the street. Therefore, staff is proposing a 36-foot residential standard cross-section that would allow parking on both sides of the streets as desired by the Sherwood community. The proposed 36-foot residential standard will allow for additional on-street parking. The vast majority of Sherwood residents travel outside of the city for employment, and other transportation options are extremely limited. Sherwood has just 2 bus lines, neither offering frequent service and neither serving a significant portion of our residential areas nor connecting our residential areas to services. The bus line move people in and out of Sherwood to Tigard, Portland, and Tualatin, whereas the majority of our residents are employed outside of Sherwood in communities without convenient transit service from Sherwood, such as Beaverton, Hillsborough, and Wilsonville. Furthermore, at 1.97 vehicles per household, Sherwood has an 8% higher rate of car ownership than Washington County as a whole, and 33% higher rate than Portland. The increased paved road width will allow for additional on-street parking that is consistent with the operational needs of residential street facility. Throughout the city's comprehensive planning process, residents indicated in surveys that additional on-street parking is needed. In Sherwood, in some of our neighborhoods, some of the greatest parking issues, we have seen neighbors becoming less neighborly and less civil towards one another. Increase the paved width of the local residential street standard is not inconsistent with the city's adopted comprehensive plan or the transportation system plan. The updated residential street standard, in addition to the goals and policies within the city's TSP, will still provide for a safe and convenient pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicular circulation consistent with access management standards. In addition, public safety vehicles, such as fire trucks, will be able to maneuver and deploy equipment safely and safely within the wider street width. The applicable chapters of the Development Code for a plan amendment are listed on this slide as for reference. All other applicable criteria have been addressed in the staff report, and the proposed amendment meets all of these criteria. And again, the additional public alley cross-section detail will provide opportunity for different classification of a roadway. A public alley can assist with affordability of certain types of development, and that the proposed 36-foot roadway residential standard will provide 2 lanes of vehicular traffic, travel, and on-street parking that meets Sherwood existing and future needs for safe, efficient, and well-connected streets. Notice of the application was routed to Department of DLCD on February 2nd of this year, and email notice to Metro and other agency partners on February 17th. Newspaper publication was also completed through the local Times publication. Pride Disposal and Sherwood Engineering have provided comments as reflected in the written staff report. No other agencies have provided comment on the revised proposed plan amendment. There was on March 8th, Planning Commission, one virtual public testimony. Mr. Shannon did testify in favor of the proposed amendments. That would include the new 36-foot residential standard cross-section that allows parking on both sides of the roadway. Mr. Shannon testified that a 28-foot street impacts safety and efficiency. He also had concerns that the height of the public alley pedestrian light could possibly damage utility vehicles. As noted before, the height of the pedestrian light has been increased from the original 12 feet high to 16, as previously discussed. Based on that above findings and applicable code criteria, staff recommends that the City Council approve the proposed text amendment and hold the second required public hearing for ordinance 2022-005 on June 7, 2022, or approve the ordinance tonight unanimously.
Thanks, Joy. Before we ask you questions, is there anyone here in attendance that would like to give testimony on the proposed ordinance? Seeing none, is there anyone remotely that would like to give testimony on the proposed ordinance? Hearing none. Excuse me, thank you. I'll close the public hearing portion of ordinance 2022-005. City Council, do you have any questions of Joy on the proposed ordinance?
I had a question on the street widths, the 36. Is the work session we had with
The LCD?
That one. The rule making that they're proposing, will that limit us from being able to?
Oh, yeah, we very well have to change this again, but this is just an interim
Okay.
until we have to make another, if the state
Goes with
dictates something
different,
in
okay.
the future, then we will be back. It's a good question. Other questions for Joy?
Less of
Discussion?
a question and more of a comment, just to expand on that for people that are listening. DLCD in Salem is going through rulemaking right now, and they want to limit our street widths to 28 feet, which personally I believe is not compatible with our community. But I just want the community to be aware that that's where that's coming from. We're setting it at 36 feet tonight. Hopefully they won't make that change. They're going to be voting on that on the 20th, I believe. But I just wanted to point that out for those that are listening.
And as a city, didn't we send some feedback on those proposed
Yep,
changes?
yeah, we gave a
We did. We testified as well.
And we invited them to come
Tour.
see. In fact, we wanted them to come drive down Redfern as well, because that's in fact, I don't know that it was really stated in the comments, but it feels like it's also a safety issue with, we've got young children that are playing or different things, and with the parking currently on the smaller streets, there's not, your car is right when you're driving down that, you're right next to those parked cars. And so I see this very much as a safety issue as well as convenience for parking. And so
Redfern itself, is about 26 and a half, 27 feet wide. And you're right, there's
yeah. So so I would, echo that let's set this and hopefully we can withstand trying to shrink them. So.
Great.
I live on, I
Okay.
live on one of those streets that has parking on one side. It's a narrow street. And we had a car parked on the side of the road, and it's so narrow that buses have a hard time navigating, and our car was sideswiped by a school bus. Trying to navigate a car coming one way and a school bus coming another, and it's just not, they're just too narrow.
Good job, Joey, putting this together. I think it was very clear, and I'm in favor of all aspects of this.
Yeah, ditto. Anything else for the collective? Shall we just, we'll just see this again in a couple of weeks, or at the June 7th meeting for the second hearing? All right. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, council. Next item on our agenda is city manager report. Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah. I'd like to ask Julia to come up to the council presentation podium, please. So my update this evening is going to be a little bit bittersweet because today I received notice that Julia is resigning her position as Community Development Director here at the city of Sherwood. After nearly 17 years, and truly what I believe is in helping create one of the best places and best communities to live, work, and play, and Julia was a huge part of that. So I wanted to give my thank you for her dedication and her time with the city, and to wish her very well in her endeavors as she looks to become the new city manager in some place called Staten. So I had to look it up on a map to find out where it was, but it seems like a really nice community. So thank you, Julia, for your service to the community. Thank you for your time. Thank you for helping make this truly a special place, and well wishes. And that's what I would like to say.
Here, here. Bittersweet news for sure. I was around when you joined the city, and you definitely, as we talked earlier today, and we talked a couple weeks ago, it's a great opportunity to go to a beautiful, beautiful part of Oregon, Staten, where Keith came from. So it's funny a little bit. A great opportunity for you, great opportunity for your family. They're lucky to have you. We were lucky to have you for the last 17 years. Anywhere you look in town, where development has occurred, it's that way because it has your fingerprints on it. And we are very thankful for that. And your hard work, your countless hours, and wish you only the very, very best. We get you for a couple more weeks, 3 weeks, a couple more weeks. And yeah, here. Yes.
Get me for a budget committee, though.
But I just want to say thank you for after my 5 years on council and all the time that you sit to answer questions of lost counselors who, trying to understand land use and all those processes, and the time that you take to sit and explain with us, let us come to your office. I just super appreciate it. But had I known we were going to be swapping employees, I might have gone a different route. I didn't know we were going to have to give up an employee to get K2, but hey, no.
I appreciate you hiring him so that he had a vacancy.
Well, good luck. I know this is something that you've been wanting to do, and I think they're going to be lucky to have you. Thank you.
I'll add in. Coming from the Planning Commission, I just got to say, I was on it for 2 years. It routinely amazed me at how much knowledge the city staff had on items that I literally thought were unknowable, and so even when they did not know stuff, they'd go and look. And so it's a real credit to your leadership style and just being able to foster an excellent team that was always prepared and so I have no doubt that you'll do great things with a bigger staff and a bigger team. So congratulations.
And you're being left with a great team.
I know. I wouldn't be so worried if I didn't know the caliber of the people here, but really it's been phenomenal to know you just this last couple of years.
Yeah, and as
I'd like to add a couple words if I could too. Councilor Garland here. It has already been said by our city manager and our mayor, but it's truly, it can't be stated enough, is people point so often to Sherwood being one of the most livable cities around, in Oregon and everywhere, and Julia is a major part of that. It just can't be overstated. So the work that you've done since you've been here to shape this city, to make it what it is, to look years in advance, to ensure that, where we are now, this is something that you were thinking about 5-10 years ago, and that's why our city is so great. And to echo what Kim said, you've been so helpful to us on council. When there's a complicated issue, you're generally proactive in reaching out to us with information, and then you seem to always end your emails with, please let me know if you have any additional questions. I'm glad to sit down and have a quick chat with you. I always knew that was honest and you meant it, and that you were always going to be there to actually answer those questions for us, because as I would often say, I don't know what this means, so I need you to explain it to me. And you always did a great job at that. And I always felt that when we got to these sessions and there was a decision needed to be made, I know that you and your staff came prepared and gave us the best information and the best advice to set us up to make the right decision for the city and for our citizens. So yeah, I just can't thank you enough, Julia, and best of luck in your new position there. Extremely fortunate to have you coming down there. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. Renee?
I concur with everything that everybody has said, but as somebody who likes to watch people in their natural environment and as they work with their teams, I've seen so much growth in you over the last few years. I love watching the interaction with you and your staff and your team and what they've done and become because of your leadership. You're going to do a great job in Staten. Best of luck to you. Thank you for everything you've done.
All right, I got to pile on now too. So in my, 7 years or so that I've been on council and planning commission and some other commissions before that, you're by far the member of staff I've interfaced with the most outside of, maybe the city manager the last few years. And I've always been blessed to have your mentorship and your kind, words, and I'm sure patience in dealing with me and, some of my, things I don't know, right? And you're always so kind and patient and willing to teach and mentor and help show me the way and coach me along when I'm getting out of bounds in a meeting maybe. So just appreciate everything you've done for me personally, as well as obviously all the other things that everyone has said about all your great works for the city of Sherwood. So we will miss you, and Staten is very lucky to have you.
Tim, I think wanted to chime in.
Yeah, so I agree 100% with everything everyone has said so far, and I don't want to repeat everything, but Julie, I've learned a lot from you over the last 5 years. You're incredible. Your team is great. I really appreciate, one of the things I appreciate a lot too is I know I come to the table with a lot of harebrained ideas, and some other of us on council probably do that as well. And you handle those suggestions with grace, and you're not afraid to tell us when it is a harebrained idea, but you always tell us why, and you always offer alternatives and other ways of achieving the goal. And that's just awesome. I do have one concern that, as Sean mentioned, Sherwood is consistently voted one of the top 10 best places to live in the country. With some magazines out there, and I think we're going to have some competition down in Staten in 5 to 10 years here, so we're going to have to be on our toes.
My goal. Well, thank you. I knew that it was going to be announced, and but I'm overwhelmed with the just thank you. But I will say I wouldn't be going where I'm able to be going if it weren't for you and the Sherwood community. I was telling the mayor today, I think one of the reasons why I got the job is everybody loved Staten or Sherwood, and they wanted me to bring Sherwood to Staten. And it's the community. I mean, I hope that I can replicate what Sherwood, has that it makes it so awesome. But it's you guys, and you guys have taught me a lot, and the community has taught me a lot, and I will miss you, but I'm excited for the next endeavor.
Yeah, very, very exciting for you. And now we have problems, but that's all right. We're very.
I'm sure in very good hands with everybody.
Yeah. Yes, we have lots of wonderful people that.
No poaching.
Sounds like we could offer a franchise opportunity, a Sherwood franchise.
Very good.
It's a little bit of a drive for most people.
Yeah, but as we were talking, I have been driving near or through Staten more in the last year than I have in quite a few years, and it's a beautiful part of Oregon. It really is. So have fun with it. We'll see you still, but
You're not too far away.
No, I will be around.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith?
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have this evening. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions for Keith or his team? Wow, he's going to get, that's easy. All right. Council announcements. Let's start with remote folks. Sean, any announcements?
Yeah, let's do a couple quick things. Last Wednesday I drove up to Hillsborough, and this weekend I drove out to Lake Oswego and saw campaign signs everywhere on all of the roads through the weekend. And so I just wanted to come back here and specifically give kudos to Daniel Miller, our code compliance officer here in Sherwood, but also to the years of wisdom from councils and everybody who has set our code standards, our sign code standards in this city to help keep our city looking like that. There are so many signs and just everywhere, and it was just a mess. So I know that those of us who have run for office and had to put up campaign signs find it a little excruciating to put them up, take them down, put them up, take them down on weekends, but it's so appreciated to not have that in our mess, or in our city. Thank you for that, and thankfully after tonight, we won't see any campaign signs again for a little while. So hopefully everybody has voted. You've got 20 minutes if you haven't, and in your ballot yet. The other thing I just wanted to mention is I attended the Cultural Arts Commission meeting last night as our liaison, and good news for two of the members, but bad news for the commission is that we've had two of our Cultural Arts Commission members are resigning from the board for personal reasons. And so we've got two vacancies. So I just wanted to announce that to anybody who might be watching, who feels like they want to serve the city in a capacity on our boards. It's a monthly board. It's a fun board. It's a creative board. They help with some of the art plan in the city. And if you're familiar with the mural on the side of Symposium Coffee, for instance, they had a very big hand in making that happen. And there is some other work that's coming up that they're going to be involved in as well. So it's a great commission. So I just wanted to get that news out there that we'll have some openings very soon for the Cultural Arts Commission. So that's it. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, Sean. Tim?
I'm going to keep it pretty short tonight. I had the League of Oregon City policy committees continue to chug forward. We just wrapped up the broadband committee and submitted 5 policy statements that will be going to the board and eventually out for voting amongst the different LOC members. We're still working through the taxation committee and the community development committee, which that one's been a lot of interesting conversations going on in that committee as it relates to some of the items we've talked about tonight with HB 2001 and parking standards and street widths and all the mandates that are coming from Salem. But that's really all I got for tonight, so I'll just keep it at that.
Thanks, Tim. Other announcements?
I wanted to thank the police department and the school district of their professionalism and the activities that happened over the weekend. And it was, once again, it reminded me of how grateful I am to live in a community with a police force that does things the right way and that is really taking our student safety and everything into account. And so please pass that along, that it was noticed and very much appreciated. I had other people commenting to me as well. And so thank you once again for that service. We have also at our planning commission meeting, we had great participation. I'd encourage to continue to have participation. I would encourage the public to be reminded that they're all volunteers that are on that commission, and so and they are dedicating literally hours of their week to making sure that the city of Sherwood remains the way it is. So congratulations to the new commission members that have been seated, and I kind of encourage the continued public involvement on that. And then finally, if you're looking for some entertainment this weekend, the high school is putting on Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So get your tickets and support the arts here in Sherwood.
Outstanding. Kim?
Taylor, do you know anybody in that show?
I do have a son in the show.
That's pretty amazing. The high school is put on back to back. They just finished a musical, and literally like 3 weeks later, they're doing this play. That's amazing. On to the police, just piggyback on what you said, it is National Police Week. Yesterday was National Peace Officers Memorial Day, just to remember all those that have given their life in the line of duty, which seems to be more often right now these days. So thank you for all of you who serve. And then I just have Police Advisory Board is this Thursday, and we will have DA Kevin Martin there to give us an update on what's going on in the District Attorney's Office. And so that's always a good time to tune in and see what's going on there.
Great. Thanks, Kim.
Library meets tomorrow. Library board. Senior advisory board met last week, but there were only 2 members there, so there wasn't a quorum. Housing advisory committee meets next week. And don't forget to buy your tickets to the Sherwood Police Foundation Gala that will be on June 24th. That's all I have.
Awesome. Thanks, Renee.
Not too much for me. Parks Board did not meet in May. They will be meeting on Monday, June 6th. So I think it'll be an in-person meeting here. So look forward to that.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug. Had a LOC committee meeting on transportation. We're also advancing bullets to the board to then go out to vote to the members, to the cities all over Oregon. Last week I did a quick trip to DC to lobby on the city's behalf, specifically with our senators. Merkley's staff, who were great, and then met with Wyden personally, along with his senior staff, to talk about our 4 priorities for potential funding by the federal government. And there are these; they're not earmarks. They're not called earmarks, but they're earmarks. They're rebranded, and there's a new name, but that's what I know them as. And for the community to know, it's 2 sewer projects to replace and upgrade some of our oldest sewer lines in town, one in Old Town and one just outside of Old Town, requesting a grant to help pay for the majority, 60%, 70% of the tannery cleanup. The tannery site is on Oregon Street, past the firehouse before the roundabout on the north side. It's got some bad soils, and we want to get that cleaned up. So we'll see. It's about a $3.5 million project. We've asked for $2.5 million. It's $2.5 million is possible through this process, knock on wood. And then the fourth that we have advocated for is a 60%, $2.5 million towards a $10 million project of building Ice Age Drive to help provide access into the Tonkin employment area. So we will know what items get selected by the senators to be put on their lists in the next couple weeks, 3 weeks. And then there's just a more process after that. But first we got to get on the list. Hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 on the list with each senator, and then we'll go from there. So, yeah, kudos, Ty, you and your team dealing with surprising challenges. Greatly appreciated. Yeah, kudos all around to city staff. We live in a great town, and it's everyone linking arms and doing what we can, keeping our eyes open for challenges, but also opportunities. And we're a great community because of it. So, anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn to the next meeting? All right. City Council is adjourned. And as soon as Brad tells us, we will convene a Sherwood Urban Renewal Board of Directors meeting.
Are we staying in here for that?
Yeah.
Did we get an agenda for that?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
It's